Secretary Martin, if you can dispense roll call, please.
President Sweeney Boston.
Here.
Vice President Templeman.
Here.
Treasurer Navarre.
Here.
President Sealy.
Here.
Senator Balaji. Senator Baker. Senator Bell.
Here.
Senator Cantu.
Here.
Senator Castellanos.
Here.
Senator Catherwood.
Here.
Senator Copeland.
Here.
Senator Dyson.
Here.
Senator Grimm.
Here.
Senator Hart. Here. Senator Hicken.
Here.
Senator Jacobs.
Here.
Senator Hood.
Here.
Senator Jawad.
Here.
Senator Jobe. Senator Johnson.
Here.
Senator McDaniel. Here. Senator McLeod.
Here.
Senator Morris.
Here.
Senator Morrison. Senator Mosley. Senator Muniz.
Here.
Senator Nafrati. Senator Nagarajan.
Here.
Senator Novak. Senator Parrish. Senator Patel. Senator Rodriguez. Senator Rogers.
Here.
Senator Ross. Senator Severin.
Here.
Senator Shaka. Senator Strothide. Senator Sweetland.
Here.
Senator Thomas.
Here.
Thank you. All in favor of approving March 16th minutes, say aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, March 16th minutes have been approved. Before I continue, I do want to say, please make sure you speak loudly enough because we do have Zoom going on. So is there anyone here for open forum today? No? Okay. Today for speakers podium, we do have Dr. Marzilli. So you have more than one speaker.
Just 1 second.
You know, this is powering on. One quick thing. I hope you guys know that all of you, I saw you using Zoom and using it very well. You all have access to everything. Oh, it's supposed to be there, but that's all right. I'll do different. No, that's very fun. You all have access to Zoom. You all have access to your own personal Zoom professional account. The paid-for account the university pays for it. So you can log in, put in your email, and you'll get your own Zoom account, which you all have access to for as long as you can. Make sure you use that if you can. I want to just take literally, no more than hopefully 5-8 minutes of your time. I know it's your time. But there's, the UT system is putting forward what's called quantum leap number 9. Heard quantum leap number 9? Any of you heard of the quantum leaps in the UT system? That's good. Quantum leap number 9 is the student success quantum leap. So the chancellor has come up with $10 million to help all the UT schools. So a lot of schools, a lot of universities, but to come up with something that is kind of game-changing, if you could say. Something that's not doing the same thing over and over again, but something that is different, something that's a little bit more innovative. In my area, I'm the Assistant Vice President of Academic Innovation and Student Success, so having the best job. I'm in charge of helping you guys succeed and then using technology ways to do that. And so one of the areas that have come up is textbook costs. How many of you in here, and I'm not your instructor, so you don't have to worry about that. How many of you in here have not bought a textbook, even though you knew that you probably should have for a class? Probably the majority of you. What was the number one reason you didn't do it? Price? Didn't have the money?
People who had taken that class told me they didn't need it, so I didn't want to spend the money on something I didn't need.
Right, I think that is a huge one. I always used to force students to take quizzes prior to my lecture to make sure they at least read the book. Because if I was going to force you to buy a book, I wanted you to at least read it, and then I wanted to help you there. But that is something that's come up over and over and over again. How much do you think the average student pays for textbooks in one academic year? 400.
600.
600. That was your bill for one semester or
It
one
was
year?
my first.
Just for one semester? $600. So $1,000.
I'd say about $1,000. We had
1,100 plus in one semester. Okay. So when you start looking at textbook costs, they start to become very, very high. And one of the things that I want to talk to you a little bit about is something called open educational resources. Open educational resources are things that people have made free of charge. Okay. There used to be a textbook maybe that someone was charging, and that person said, you know, I made enough money from this textbook, I'm just going to put it open text or open access for anyone to look at. YouTube is a great example of open access. Okay? You can get lectures from MIT, Harvard, all these different places. You can get notes from a lot of different things. You can do a lot on the web. Web's open access. The problem with some of that is, how do you know it's real? How do you know it's right? So in real great open educational access areas, you have someone that still looks at the stuff and says, you know what, yes, this is accurate, okay? Because we don't want, as a faculty member, to use something that's inaccurate. Now, obviously, hopefully, we're in the field, we should be able to see if it's accurate or not, but they have someone to do it. And that's what this open education is. A couple kind of fun slide. This one here, it says, move back home. Kids today are so lazy and irresponsible. Your mother and I started out with nothing. And then this poor person says, I would have loved to have started out with nothing. How many of you guys are going to get out of here with zero debt? A few of you, which is awesome. How many of you have jobs? Okay, some of the same hands came up that have jobs that are going to get out with zero debt. I got out of my undergraduate with zero debt. I was extremely lucky. My parents paid for it. I'll just be very blunt. I got very lucky. My parents paid for it. Graduate school, that was no such thing. My master's and PhD, I had to pay for myself. It took me 10 years. I was working here as a department chair of health and kinesiology when I sent in my last check. And in fact, it was all digital at that point, but I made a purposeful thing to find my checkbook, write the final check, and send it in so I could have a copy of my final check. 10 years after I graduated, I was still paying back debt. So debt is a real thing. And then if you look at on your far right, if you look at this is the consumer price index using 1978 as the starting point. You can look at overall consumer price index. It's gotten more expensive, okay, in all those areas by 262%. New home prices have gone up 400%. Medical care has gone up 600%. Educational books, textbooks have gone up 945%. Okay, I mean that's huge. All right, 945%. Now, what are some things that the bookstore and other places are trying to do to alleviate some of those higher costs? What kind of programs have you seen at our bookstore? Yeah. They do price matching, great. They do renting, electronic books, Problem with a rented book is you pay basically half the cost, but then or in some instances 60%, then you turn it back in at the end. A digital book, you don't own the book. Most of the time it's 180 days, and then the license that you got disappears. So let's say it's an anatomy and physiology book, and you need it for 1 and 2. Do you buy it for whatever it costs? You rent it, then you have to rent it again. How do you do that? And one of the things that I could say that I really regret is that I sold back my books. Again, I told you my parents paid for everything, so I bought all the books that were on the list, and then I sold them all back. And even if it was $1 for a $100 textbook, I sold it back because I wanted that $1. I wish I would have had all the books that I would have had throughout my college career. And I look now with the renting and some of these things, you guys are paying for a lot, but there's not, when you give it all back, what you have left. This is from the College Board. It's an annual survey of colleges. It looks at the average estimated full-time undergraduate budget. This is us, public 4-year, in-state, on-campus, more or less. This is us. You can kind of look at this. That's actually not that far off from what we say the cost of attendance is here if you were to live on campus and eat here and all those other things. But if you look at this number here, 1,250.
So average book and supplies is average of $1,250. Right? That's a lot of money. That's for an academic year. There was a research study done, a survey done with basically 150 different universities, 2,039 students, and this is what they said. 65% of students said they decided against buying a textbook because it was too expensive. That's almost what was when you guys raised your hands. And if you're not going to use it, why would you buy the textbook also? 94% of the students who decided not to buy a textbook were concerned it would hurt their grade in the class. They knew it would hurt their grade in the class, but they still decided not to buy the textbook. They said, I'll wing it. I'll go for it. You know, I'll just make sure I go to class. 82% of the students felt that they would do significantly better if the textbook was available free online or buying a hard copy as an option. And 48% of the students said that the cost of textbooks impacted how many and which classes they took. There's been some research that show that if you have to pay for textbooks, you take about 12 hours. If textbooks, you're not having to come up with that extra money for textbooks, you can take an extra course, 15 hours. And so, kind of an interesting way of looking at this. I randomly took classes from UT Tyler. Okay. Now there's a little caveat down here. These are required and recommended. I just went into the bookstore, the library, and I said, okay, accounting 2301 and what's required and what's recommended. These are obviously also purchase new. Okay? I could have gone, some of these have multiple options. You can purchase them new, purchase them used. You can rent them new, rent them used. Buy them electronically. There's a lot of different options. So I just use an option if I'm just going in and buying new textbooks. Here's Accounting 2301. This is Nutrition, Political Science 2306, Psych 1301, Speech 1315. Are any of you in any of these classes right now? You're in these classes? Did you buy all the textbooks that were required? No. Okay. It'd be hard to come up with $487 to buy textbooks for one class. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't and recommend it, but these are just numbers I just got. Semester 2, for example, I would take Math 1342. That's stats. How many of you have taken a math stats class? Okay. This is what it says the textbook cost is for a math stats class book, $186. Biology 1306, $559. There's a lot of recommended things in that. It's what?
It's general biology.
Is that general biology 1306?
Yeah.
And then there's the lab, $79. History 1302. English 2322, and then music 1306. So when I added those two up to take 31 hours here, if you bought all the books that were recommended and required, and you happen to purchase them new, it was $2,002. Let's just say, for argument's sake, used or rented is exactly half. And in some instances, you can't buy rented. Some of these books are not rentable. There's only certain books that you can rent.
An accounting book comes out every year in addition.
A new edition every year.
It's based off the tax code, so you
That's
have to
why
have a new one.
have an access code for online homework. It can only be used one time.
So these are some of those situations. But let's just, for argument's sake, say we cut this in half. $1,000 a year. That's $500. That's $500 or so a semester. It's still a lot of money for you all to come up with after you pay for tuition and everything else. And I went one step further, which I thought would be kind of interesting. What happens if you just took those 5 courses, just the 5 courses that were I randomly chose for the spring? And granted, again, this is purchasing new. And we were able, by working with the faculty, to have the faculty get free open access resources. So for instance, the tax code, right? You said every year there's a new thing because you have to get the tax code, right? Well, I'm sure you can find the tax code somewhere online. And I'm sure it's up to date, even more up to date than a textbook that was printed a year ago or such. So, here's this example. If we use just 5 courses at this university, 5 courses, you would save. And what I did was to calculate these numbers. I took all of the students that were enrolled in Accounting 2301, all of the students that were enrolled in 1315, and I multiplied it by that number. Add them all up, it was $210,000 roughly that we could save the students if just in these 5 courses we didn't have students buy textbooks. Then if you do the same for the spring, the enrollments were a little bit smaller in the spring in some of these courses. And And then if you add those up, $416,000 we could save you, the student, just with changing 5 courses. That's all, 5 courses. And these aren't, these ones that I'm using aren't the chemistries, the biologies, the physics, the engineering. They're not those courses. These are just general, this list is just general core courses. Right? I wanted to ask your opinion, is this something that you think would be worthwhile moving forward on? Is this something that you say, well, I don't buy the textbooks anyway, it doesn't make a difference? Granted, and the other little caveat here is all the research done on these open educational resources when they compare a textbook course versus the same course, same teacher, same course without a textbook, but with open educational resources, the students do equally as well. Okay? So there is no deficit in learning from the student side. In fact, in most cases, the students do better. Okay? The students do better. So, you know, I just wanted to come to you guys because we have a short turnaround on these things for this quantum leap. And this is a quantum leap worthy idea that I think is working. You know, if we can reduce the financial burden on you as students, then maybe you take that 15th hour instead of taking 11 or 12. Maybe you take 15 or 16 because you don't have that textbook to buy. Maybe you don't have to have that second job, or maybe you don't have to have that job to save that $1,000 or $2,000. And, you know, you can be more involved in organizations and other things, you know. So that's all I have for you. If you guys could just give me some feedback, I'll be more than happy just to listen.
I'm in the College of Pharmacy, and it's already built into our tuition, our online resources. And I'll say I utilize those a heck of a lot more than I ever did in undergrad. Having to buy the book, I was one of those. I opted not to, and my grade did suffer occasionally because of that. So I think it's brilliant.
Oh, great, thank you.
I think this makes a huge difference in like a student's ability to, like for me, study. When I go to the library, it's hard for me to take 4 textbooks. They're huge. Having something online on my laptop would make using those textbooks a lot easier. And I think a lot of students would benefit from not having the burden of a physical 5-pound book for 5 classes.
I mean, it becomes pretty common knowledge at a certain point that it's just untenable to buy hundreds, you know, $200, $300, $400 textbooks, especially for upper level engineering classes. Students eventually just figure out they need to go online and find something else that can help them out there. Usually they'll find an older version. Sometimes even professors will help them out by referring them to an older version of some public domain or something. But it's really impossible options for a lot of students.
So just curiously, part of streamlining this is the course of action for implementation. So, and when I say this, because you know different professors teach in different ways, so some of them use different books. Is this going to streamline the courses better?
No, so that's a really good question. So something like this, for instance. So in Political Science 2306, well, we'll just use Speech 1315. Another little caveat, I assume that if it's the same learning outcomes, it's the same course, Speech 1315, that you probably shouldn't have, I think there was like 18 sections of Speech 1315. My hope is that there's not 18 different textbooks in the bookstore. I just looked at section 1 and looked at that. Now, how would that work? You know, I think the way this would work is if everyone bought into this and if the university in general said this is the direction that we would like to go, then we would have to work together collaboratively. You have the Office of Digital Learning that could help students or help faculty with videos and different things. We have the library that could help curate some of this information and say what is good and what is bad. We have the Center of Teaching and Learning that could help faculty say, well, okay, I've taught with a textbook for this many years. Now I'm gonna change the way I teach. We can help. But it would be kind of an opt-in situation. But that's why I was so amazed when you just looked at 5 courses. If we could just get these 5 courses, the faculty that teach in these 5 courses to say, we will not use a textbook. Now, it still might be different. Course section X might be different than section Y, and their online free resources might be a little bit different, but it still ends to a mean of making sure they get the learning outcomes. So we don't want to, you know, it's not for me to say that speech has to all have the same everything. That's up to the department chair and the faculty. But, you know, ultimately, when I first thought about this, I thought, well, we'll just, you know, we can do the STEM courses. We do the STEM courses. And I thought, well, maybe we'll do the core. And I thought, we can do 5 courses? If we just do 5 courses, this is what we can save the students?
Some courses, you have to buy not only a book, you have to buy an additional access code for homework. And quizzes and
I included that.
Okay.
I included that.
That's an additional, like 100 plus.
I included that in here. I included that in here.
You just mentioned that there's going to be an opt-in in the system. So how would, I was thinking like, how would we know as students which professors had opted in and which didn't? So we're going to class.
No, that's great.
Who's doing what?
You know, the good news is we're not the first people to do this. You know, University of Massachusetts has done this. UCLA has done this. University of Maryland is doing the whole Maryland system is doing this. So we're not the first person to do this, which is good. Some people in the catalog, when you're signing up for classes, there's a little asterisk next to the course, and it'll say a zero-cost course. And then some universities say 40, you know, below $40 course, a $0 course, and then if it's nothing, then it just means you're, you know, the fact they're just picking the books and it's a regular course. So you would be able to, hopefully you would be able to see which courses are open educational resource courses, because to be honest, there are some students that might not want this. You're used to textbooks your whole time. I want a textbook. Now the good news is most of these open educational resources, for $5, you can get an access code that gives you a PDF printable version of the textbook. So if you really want the 200-page textbook, for $5 you can print it out. Because some people like to have it and write on, and I understand that. But most of these situations, it's not an either or. It's not only a digital or only written. You can have both, but the key is it's super cheap. That's the key. Yeah.
Well, so like you were saying for those like core courses, and I know for like my undergrad, or like something like nursing school, so I'm finished with all undergrad courses, now I have my specific nursing courses now. So is there a way you could do it based on like colleges? So like a nursing school has like a core, like an open education resource. And if we have a couple books that I use more than one time that are very, very expensive, and like our package for the beginning of our level 1 was like $900. Well, that's just level 1, and then I still have grade levels to go through. So if there's a way, could you do like each kind of like college of education, college of nursing, college of engineering, you know, everyone have like a specific open education? Because like I said, like I'm done with those. It's like, you know, this one really like opt to a lot of people.
No, well, you're right. Okay, it is tough. It is tough. But on the same extent, you know, I don't see anyone mandating that we go down this route. And I don't see that, because I think, you know, this will be more of that opt-in. But if students say, well, hey, is there any way that you guys can maybe take 1 or 2 of these courses and get open educational resources for 1 or 2 of these courses? You know, I think if we start, you know, you always have to plant the seed somewhere and then let it grow. If you try to just plant a whole tree, sometimes everyone will go into shock. So, you know, I think you start with a few and then it expands. I think once the word gets out that the students are doing equally well or better in these courses, the students like it better, this and that, then I don't think that it'll be a problem to expand it. But you have to understand, this is a major difference than what we're currently doing business here. Okay, so this would be a game changer, I think. And whenever you have something like that, you're going to have pushback. You're going to have some stress about, well, are you sure these are good? Are you sure? But the bottom line is, if you guys aren't buying the books anyway, you're not buying the books anyway, then what? You're not using the book anyway. And so at least if you could create something that was accessible to you, like in pharmacy or in other places, and you had some of these things that were accessible to you, hopefully your success would be better. That's why I couch this under student success, helping you guys succeed. And if you're not buying the textbooks for whatever reason, or you're buying your textbooks and you're coming in more and more debt, what can we do to facilitate that process so that we can get you everything you need, and then it's at your fingertips? If you decide not to read it, it's still your choice. You know, it's still your choice. But you know, at least you're not buying a book because it's $400 or $200 or someone told you that you didn't need it. So I just wanted to thank you all very much, and I just want, like I said, share this with you. I don't need anything from you. I just wanted to hear from SGA just to see if there were any red flags that said, no, don't do this. You know, I like having my textbooks the way they are. And if that was the case, then we would need to kind of, I have to ask you why. But I don't think many of you were saying that you like the way it currently is. And so if we can do something that is better than it currently is, then it seems like you guys would be in favor. All right, so I just want to thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Martin.
All right, the next on agenda, we have Chris Thompson, which I don't think is here today. So is there anyone else who's a speaker podium? Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to this room, I guess. I know last week we had our town hall. I don't really have much. The semester's kind of winding down, but I do want to say that we still have 4 weeks left, and as you can see, a lot of your senators are not currently here. So if you do pass by them or you do see them, please let them know to come. We still have center project budget in our line, money left over. So if you're interested, please make sure you take up on that. Another thing is that, so we have a traffic and parking appeal committee. And I was told that unfortunately a couple of senators have not been going, and actually that's probably due to the fact that they resigned. I do know Abby McDaniel is on it, and she's been going. Do you maybe want to talk a little bit about what you guys do?
Okay. Basically, it's me and 3 other faculty members, and the main faculty member just goes in and kind of like gets all the appeals that everyone will go and for their parking tickets, and kind of like reads through them. And he'll get like a load of them throughout a period of time, and he'll call us in like once a semester. And he gets like 200 of these, and we split them off, and we kind of just decide based on like team if we feel like it should be accepted or denied based on the just.
So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we need 3 senators to take on this role to be on the committee. If I'm not mistaken, there's only 1 more meeting left, and it's at the end of the semester. Dr. Placey, you guys know who he is. He's the one who runs this. So I'm going to pass it around. I really need 3 people to sign up. How long does it take?
Maybe 20.
Okay, so only 20 to 30 minutes. And if you guys do sign up, make sure you do go. You will get an email from Dr. Placey saying when the meeting is. So if you guys could just sign up, that'd be great. For those who don't know, for those who don't know, Senator McLeod and Lindsay Bell, Senator Bell have paired up and created a Qualtrics survey over bike routes here on campus, I believe near the pharmacy building, correct? So a survey has been sent out. Please make sure as fellow senators to take that survey and support them. But other than that, that's all I have. Is there any questions for me? Okay, awesome. Vice President Supplement?
Hey guys, I've spent most of this week going over a lot of the finalizations for catering prices over midnight breakfast and the SGA banquet. I finally got the quote in from Sodexo, and so I've been trying to deal with all of that this week, along with working on stuff that we got from the town hall, and that's really about it.
Any questions for Vice President Supplement?
The banquet, let me pull up my calendar.
The last week of April, the 28th of Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, but correct.
I just wanted to be 100% sure. The 27th of April would be the day that we do that. I hadn't put it on the sheet yet because I still got reserved whichever room it is.
Any other questions for Vice President? Secretary Martin?
I've just been working on merchandising or marketing for midnight breakfast and elections. So my committee's just been focused on that, on t-shirts and different goodie bags, different stuff that we're going to give away at midnight breakfast. Yeah, I think that's really all we've been doing. So that's all I have for you.
Any questions for Secretary Martin? President Clark?
This week we had a couple of expenses. Our main expense was in our SGA line. We had SGA get 2 purchases of the PCC stuff for $33 each. NFNA got $115 for food for their event that they had. Accounting Society pizza again, $11. Marco's or Matzo pizza for $62. Matzo pizza for $56.95, and then the Wilderness ordered pizza for $55. And then our last office expense was $89.67 for some items the executive board needed. Other than that, I've been working on getting the new SGA requests in so we can review them next week. Those of you who are on my committee, please be on time next week as we have quite a few requests to review.
Any questions for Treasurer LaBarge? Senator Hood.
When is the last, when is the deadline for SGA requests?
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. The last day to turn in an SGA request is April 14th, I believe.
Any other questions? Parliamentarian, please.
You guys, I've been working really hard with elections. Applications are being taken obviously right now. We have a table next week from 11 to 2. It's on April 5th in the UC where we always are, right in front of the Cessna Met. If you weren't at the table yesterday, you have to be there next week, or send me an absence form with the reason you weren't there for both days. And if you're missing one of the days or something like that, you will get an absence, but you didn't have to be at both tables. I'm sorry if that was not super clear in my Blackboard notes, but you had to have been at one of the two. And if you miss both, then an absence form with the reason for missing each day. Does that make sense to everyone? We good? Yes. You don't have to be there the whole time. If you only have 30 or 45 minutes, that's awesome. We just try to have 1 or 2 people there at all times throughout the whole time. And speaking of elections, I just want to explicitly go over the timeline for the rest of the election sort of season. Applications will be due at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, April 5th in UC 3400. You can drop them off in my box. There's a little sign that says SGA application here. After 5 p.m. we won't take any more applications, and that's really too bad if you didn't get it on time. You can pick up an application also in UC 3400, or again, there's a big sign that tells you where they are. Or you can pick one up at the table on April 5th. We'll be putting up election flyers all around probably as soon as they get here. Devin, do you know when we have the flyers? Wait a moment. Okay, cool. We'll have those eventually, and they'll be up around school. You can probably pick them up if you want to give them to your friends. Wednesday, April 19th, and Thursday, April 20th. Those are the days of elections. You will vote those days at midnight on April 19th. An email will go out to your student email. It'll open a link to a survey where you can vote. Elections will close at 5 p.m. on the 20th, and votes will be counted shortly thereafter by Joshua and someone who's not running, so not me. Yes.
Candidacy.
Candidacy dates, okay, so I know they're April 7th, which is the Friday after applications are due. They're also the 10th and the 11th, which is the Monday and Tuesday after applications are due. I don't remember the times explicitly, but they are on your application, so when you pick up an application, they're there. I can send out a Blackboard announcement later today. There's one meeting being conducted by each of the seniors on each end report since there's no conflict of interest there. If you've already sent in your application and you can't make one of those times or need a different candidacy meeting, you can email me before next Wednesday and I can conduct one for you, because once I turn in my application on Wednesday, I can't do anything else with elections. You don't have to speak to Brado or Divya or Devin, and they'll be able to help you. So I've already kind of been doing that for people who know that their dates conflict and things like that. Are there any other questions? Oh, sorry, last thing. If you are a senior or you are not running, you will have to be at the election tables, because people who are running cannot work those polling stations. So if you are a senior or electing not to run, go ahead and send me an email so I can put your name on a separate list to not give you an absence for these 2 tables, because you'll have to be at the polling stations so that people who are running don't have any sort of conflict of interest and no one can sort of contest the results of the elections based on collusion or what have you. Are there any questions? I know that was a lot of information. Sorry.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda we have our student voice report, so College of Business and Technology.
The main issue I've been hearing about is about our capstone class, which was brought up
during the town hall too. It's kind of frustrating me that there aren't any like major specific capstones. Like I'm accounting, I'm taking a management capstone, and I'm basically not using any accounting knowledge, which is frustrating. And I've heard the same thing from other majors too. Other than that, and I guess people have complained about that professor as well about not emailing back and just not being very organized. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Is that one particular professor?
I think he might be the only one that teaches that class.
Okay. Have you tried talking to the professor? Oh.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Okay. And have you tried maybe talking to the dean about the capstone classes?
I was going to do that whenever I schedule my head of constituency.
Anything else from this technology? Okay. Arts and sciences?
I don't have anything in the future.
And Philip did.
Basically, something that was brought up at our town hall is outdated computer equipment. So, will come eventually.
I think with the new STEM building.
Yeah. Well, here you gotta wait for the STEM building.
Right.
Gotta wait for the arts and science.
Right. Thank you. Student body at large? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Follow-up student voice reports. I know we had a town hall last week, but so the week before that, OHAL?
Yeah, I don't have any.
Freshman senator?
So I talked to Matthew Cartwright, and he said that I would need to get an appointment with you, Preston, and Lady Clinton in order to get like a gate in place. And also he mentioned that we don't have any blue phones or emergency phones at UPine. So in that meeting.
Thank you. Anything else from freshman senators?
I have something that a student brought up to me. I'm not sure if we're forward or new this. Someone brought up to me the idea of opening up a speech, basically somewhere like the right. So somewhere we can go over as a presentation. I don't know if that's really long, but that was just brought up to me.
Okay. If you're interested, you're more than welcome to bring that up during your business. That is completely up to you. Thank you. Any other freshman senators? Okay. Houston campus?
Yeah, so we actually also had a town hall at the same time you guys did at the Houston campus. And we had about 12 to 15 students show up, which is really good because like I said, our campus is past the definition of a commuter campus. Most people come, take their classes, and they leave. So the fact that we had students show up was really good. And they brought up problems that they had, and we sort of addressed those ones and also tried to collect ideas. But on the update section, we actually were able to connect with the suite president. She showed up to voice her opinion about the printer situation. So we're in conversation with her, and she'll submit the actual forms required so that she can make the next senator project if Near Yanelli choose to do it that way, or they will just request it through their student organization funds.
Awesome. I'm super proud of you guys for doing a town hall the same time we did. Were there any other prevalent topics that you guys talked about?
Yeah, so one interesting thing is that actually the department chair for civil engineering came to our town hall as well, which I thought was really cool. That he sort of cared about his students enough or thought highly enough of this type of an event that he made the trip from Tyler to our town hall. One of the other things that was brought up is, so you guys have passed the tutoring system, and we don't have an actual student-based tutoring system on campus, and that was one of the things that was brought up. And luckily he was there. He addressed or volunteered to sort of figure out what the process would be for us to try and have a conversation with PASS to start a student-based tutoring program on campus, because he was letting us know that the department is not able to do that for like conflict of interest reasons, like the teacher is working with the student and then this student is also being a TA for this particular class, so that it had to be like non-biased and we had to go through Passport in particular. But that was one that I didn't expect. I had never even heard of from other students. But you know, there was a group of people who came and they expressed that as a concern or as something that they would like to have.
Awesome. Well, glad to hear. Please email us if you need any help with trying to get any of this stuff done.
For sure. What I was hoping was to sort of take the arguments or the problems that people address. This is a recommended solution, and then do a student voice report and present it to SGA to try and get like an SGA approval so it can like be on the record, and then we'd submit it to our Dean of Engineering and hopefully sort of like create a, not paper trail is the wrong word, but like a process for improvement.
Perfect. That'd be great. Thank you so much, Senator Dyson.
Oh, yeah.
If I could talk for a second, we also informed the students of a couple of resources that I don't think they were aware of, like the SGA funds that are given to organizations for like food, and then we also let them know about the procedures to ask for a class if need be.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anything else on your end?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, for committee report, student life.
I actually had to cancel ours this week. I had been busy calling around trying to get some different price quotes from catering companies to see if I could get a better price for both events, and I just, since that was really what our committee does, and I wasn't able to really give them anything new until I had those price quotes.
Communications committee.
Like I said, we were working on t-shirt designs, and McKinsey, she came up with a great t-shirt design that we're giving away for Midnight Breakfast. And we're waiting on approval for a lot of the stuff that we worked on, but we'll have different A-frames up for Midnight Breakfast and election. I don't know if y'all saw that, the one that was like girl code versus guy code, the big A-frame on campus. We're gonna have that book for Midnight Breakfast and elections. And I don't know about y'all, but I saw those when I walked around campus. And so that was something that I really wanted to head forward and make sure that we did for these events. So that's what we've been working on.
Okay, thank you. SGA.
We had one request this week from Beta Alpha Psi. They requested $187.18 for their VAP meetings, and we approved $85.
Rules committee.
Rules not meet this week because we finished the Constitution and the bylaws. I'm sure you see on your agenda that they presented this week. And we will meet once we have some election flyers and election advertising things to work with to put up around campus. So that's the other thing that we do. So hopefully we'll get to meet next week.
Thank you. President's Council. So, oh, I'm sorry. I always do that. Student affairs.
Okay. We are going to we're working on a post-Sodexo survey. We want to know if the students feel that, yes, they made good changes. So we'll be working on that, and we will present that next Thursday. Been helping other senators help the senator file and like proposals and surveys. So if you ever need a survey or help with it, we meet Mondays. Also, I took a lot of notes from the town hall. I got the academic. So I just need help prioritizing this list. So if you have any ideas, don't prioritize this list, please give it.
Okay, so we met this past week and also the week before that we had the town hall. So, we had this big event planned for the Bell Tower Party, and we were super excited, but then we had to cancel it because of the weather. So basically, we kind of are just gonna change it. I mean, like we're just gonna do something else instead, and we're gonna call it the Patriot Zone Takeover, and that's gonna be the 26th, 11 to 2, and basically we're just gonna have food karaoke. Games, all that fun stuff. And then in addition to that, we talked about what President's Council is going to look like in the future. And Vivian or Josh, you guys can stop me if I say something wrong, but basically, we're gonna turn it into like an actual student organization, and either the president or the representative of every organization on campus will need to attend the meeting, and get everybody to collaborate, work together, and like improve student involvement.
Treasurer Moore. So is it gonna be mandatory for every president and or representative to attend the meeting?
That's what it's looking like, and then they were talking about, no, okay, no.
Any other questions?
Application, virtually all the application process. Because we can't accommodate 100. That was focused to. We found once we get enough students, that's be hard to others. It will then be too big following. It will be new to
Do you have any old business?
I have a presentation for the Build Lab that I've been talking about, Joe.
I'm on the motion.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to bring up the past discussion about this Build Lab.
Okay, all in favor of Senator Hood bringing up the, I'm sorry, what's it, the bill lab?
Right, that's just the generic term I'm kind of using.
Presenting over the bill lab, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Aye. Okay, motion is passed, you can now present.
Okay, can I go on the computer?
Yeah.
Is it your email? Is it your email?
802.
No, it's on your email though.
It's on the flash.
Just a quick thing, please make sure that if you guys do have something to present in the future, to make sure to go before the meeting and put it up on the computer so we don't have to wait.
Turn it off.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry about that. I was getting this ready right for the meeting.
No, that's fine, no worries.
This can show up on the projector. So I just wanted to put together a pretty short presentation just to define a little more of what I've been talking about for the past few weeks. Because I've been throwing around a lot of terms that are big there. And as soon as that pops up, So what I've been calling a Build Lab is better referred to as a makerspace. It's just another generic term that is a place where members can come and use creative equipment the same way that a gym lets you use exercise equipment. I've made a draft of a proposal that I'd like to show to you all. And since this is a draft and this proposal itself is a large, somewhat large endeavor, I don't have specifics on equipment costs, the overall structure, operating procedures. I just have a few estimates and what I would like to start with and give this room to grow. So Sergil, see up there, is the name that we are referring to for our specific type of makerspace. We call it the Student-Run Joint Innovations Lab. We want this to be accessible. So whatever we can do to make these 3D printers, 3D scanners, whatever we can have in there to allow students to create, as long as we can do that without creating barriers in front of taking whatever you want to do and making it. But my idea is not the only way to bring this to life. There's certain costs that go into it, and we can break that down later on, but overall, it just goes into equipment, material, maintenance and repairs, and staffing. Mind if I pull up this proposal? Okay. Is that pretty legible?
I think it focuses better whenever you like bring out the camera.
Here, there's a button for you. That's yeah, I don't know about that. Anyways, let's go through this real fast. So, whereas University of Texas at Tyler is dedicated to enhancing its students' participation in the global society, their professional knowledge and skills to enhance economic productivity, and commitment to lifelong learning, I brought that directly from the mission statement from the Tyler website. And whereas lifelong learning, innovation, and entrepreneurial passion are not skill sets born within any structured degree plan, but are spurred on through self-motivated, independent exploration. And whereas unstructured, hands-on learning is vital to the process of learning and mastery of creative technology. And whereas there is no clear path or destination for the most creative and ambitious students from all majors to collaborate on projects that engage their creative passion and potential. Whereas the students of the University of Texas at Tyler lack an outlet for open, collaborative, and hands-on learning, creative expression outside the classroom. And whereas creating an avenue for innovation, collaboration, and hands-on learning has already been pioneered by other universities within the University of Texas system through the implementation of open access makerspaces, therefore be it resolved that the Student Government Association at the University of Texas at Tyler endorses the creation of a makerspace giving all students safe, open access to the capabilities of 21st century manufacturing technology. And that's my proposal. I would like to hear what you have any thoughts or suggestions, concerns. What do you think?
We have not opened discussion for that.
Okay.
So if anyone has any questions over this proposal, feel free to ask them. But if you want discussion, then you need to close presentation.
Go ahead and close that.
Just to clarify, the questions can only be about what is being interpreted currently, or not necessarily the content or justification, mostly about. I'm just saying.
Okay, so
The interpretation of what's being presented to you.
Is this just for your college?
this is for all students, not just the engineering college. This is for every student in every college to allow art students, kinesiology students, technology students, accounting students, business students, everyone should have open access. This could be something, for example, that you could walk in the library at 1 a.m. and make something because you had an idea. Okay.
So will there be any sort of like faculty oversight to this at all, or are you saying just strictly?
I would like to see what works best within our environment. What I've seen is that a lot of times when things are left only to students, that they have the tendency to die out. That's why I had to resurrect one of our major student organizations, because sometimes students aren't able to create a lineage of succession. So I would like this to be accessible to students and operated by students, but I'm not saying that it should not have any sort of faculty oversight. In fact, I would like for there to be some sort of faculty oversight in order for there to be an anchored connection to university.
Senator Balaji?
When you say like you can like get up and go like something, what exactly?
Okay, so in a makerspace like the one that exists in Dallas and one that will exist in downtown Tyler shortly, you become trained, you become a member, you become trained on particular pieces of equipment. So it takes a little more training than just running the inkjet printer, in the library or anywhere else. But once you do that, there shouldn't be any other hurdles to jump through. It shouldn't be like, oh, do you have a work order from a specific professor for a specific assignment? No, it should be like, I want to make this, I found this cool, idea online or a 3D model online, and I want to get it started now. It's midnight or it's 9 in the morning. It really doesn't matter as long as I, as a member of this makerspace, have already been trained. I can use it how I'd like to. That answer your question?
Really much like, yeah, it does, but how does that pertain to
Sorry, just give me 1 second. This is kind of leaning more towards discussion. So does anyone have any questions pertaining to the actual proposal or suggestions on how to change the proposal?
Yes. These questions should be about the document itself, not the concept of the document or the concept of what it's talking about. Does that make sense? Because if you have questions about the concept of the makerspace or the thing that he is proposing, he can sit down and fill in the presentation and we can open the discussion. But if you have questions about the document itself, let's go ahead and get those out of the way.
Senator Copeland?
Motion to close Senator Hood's recommendation.
Wait, sorry, we don't need a motion for that. We just sit down. No. He sits down and then we open up motion.
We open up discussion. The motion was to, just to clarify, the motion was to present. So now he's presented, he's open questions over the presentation. And if there's some more questions, he can go back to the seat. That'll be the end of the presentation. And we can motion to open a discussion over the presentation and the concept of said document.
I'll just eject my
Go back to this PowerPoint.
We should.
Motion to open discussion over Senator Hood
makerspace.
makerspace proposal presented.
Motion. Need a second. Okay. All in favor of opening up discussion over Senator Hood's Makerspace Center project, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? I'm sorry, present again, sorry. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna need to raise a hand. All in favor, say, or raise your hand. Okay, all those who oppose? Any abstentions? Okay, well, discussion is now open. Senator McDaniel.
Okay, so you said that you want like faculty to be involved in it, but to do something like this, you said there's training and there's this involved, there's this involved, this involved. So it seems like something that needs to be kind of the faculty base first, but maybe they can help with training. Do you, and I feel like this has to be approved by someone, do you have like someone who's gonna approve this and let us do all of this and bring it in? Because it seems like a big.
The course of action I'm pursuing right now. The course of action I'm pursuing right now is to show that this is an idea that is in some way approved by this SGA, just to show that this is something, a good idea for our campus. If we didn't have a gym for us to go work out in, that would be a big endeavor to start on. So how would we go about doing that? Probably not have the entire plan in place before being endorsed by SGA, but rather the course I'm going through is to show that SGA does see the value in this. Then we bring this to Dr. Lumpkin, opening the STEM building. And really the STEM building and the engineering building are where I would see as two major focal points. But otherwise, I'd like to talk to people in the library. But again, just showing that SGA sees value in this is where I'd like this proposal to come from. I'm not asking for money or anything, just to show that this is a good idea.
Vice President Templeman?
I know you said you didn't want to bring up like money, but you had on your PowerPoint, you had 4 main relative costs. And I noticed that some of those are going to be initial, some of those are going to be recurring costs. Do you have an estimated amount that we would be needing to ask for? Because what I'm getting at is the only way that I see this even being possible is it's going to take multiple departments. I also know that these departments are already pretty stretched thin right now. And so for something of this scale, it almost has to be included in the STEM building's plan as it's being built now. So we would have to readjust their current model to include something of this nature so that they have the space to build it into it. What do you think that would cost?
It's actually the second half of that presentation that I pulled up there does go into cost structure, but I didn't feel like it was a good idea beforehand to get into this. What I did estimate was that if there are 75 semester days, 75 weekdays in a semester, and say a 3D printer is running 12 hours a day on the estimate. Based on the cost of the 3D printing material, we would spend about $225 in that material over the course of the semester. Going into maintenance, I estimated 3 major breakdowns, about $200 a piece. Fix, $600, as well as including the laser cutter, which has no material costs because you're engraving or cutting wood, paper, plastic, really just anything that you can find lying around, you can cut it, engrave it. That is free. What has to be replaced on that is air filters, and after thousands of hours, a CO2 tube needs to be replaced, but that's something you look at every 2 years. All in all, I estimated the total cost of this every semester to be $1,225 to allow all 10,000 of our students to be able to say, my school has a 3D printer, a laser cutter that we can use when we want to, and really it's giving students the same capability that many of them are now coming out of middle school and high school doing. And our college is really at a place where we can step up and be at that that level, that bar that's been set for 21st century education.
Senator Johnson?
Yeah, so you're talking, you want it to be like the gym in a way, as people can just come in, go in the middle of the night. So, well, that takes labor and staffing. So, especially at night, I mean, after what, like, was it like 11 o'clock at the library? It's adult staff that come in till 2 a.m. So how's that going to work? This space, I mean, that's another recurring cost, along with presentation, all the supplies and stuff needed. Right? So, is that
what I want to see is the most accessibility possible with something that does work with what we have available. If we can't come in at midnight in our pajamas and do something, that's too bad. But that's what I would like to see happen. If it can happen, understandable, because that is a goal that can be reached. As far as staffing goes, there are many makerspaces around the country that are run solely by volunteers. And UT Tyler is already giving funding and already has staff on hand here that are going to be assisting at the makerspace that is opening downtown. The reason I would like for one to be here is because our community is disconnected from the greater Tyler community. And if we have a small version of a makerspace then it will start getting students aware of possibilities that are available. And then if they are looking for more community, more creative capability, they can go to the Tyler Innovation Pipeline downtown, have access to everything and more.
Okay, so we're all here because we represent our constituents, and I'm just, because my opinion is all well and good, but I have to think about the opinion of everyone who I represent. Is there any form of student feedback currently that would support this? Have you thought about doing a survey or
I started
having
a
a table
survey.
of some kind? Or having a table of some kind where you can get like other student opinions, because our opinion is well and good on the subject, but if it's not something that the campus wants, then I don't think this conversation is relevant.
I started a survey, it was just 2 days ago, and last time I checked, it went down and went back up again. So there's not very many responses, but as far as people that I'm connected with on Facebook, I've received nothing but positive responses, as well as I've talked to many students from engineering about this, and they all express the same feeling that they are bored. They have no ability to take on a project independently and move it forward, because again, everything that we work on within the manufacturing lab, fabrication lab, has to be under a work order, has to be relevant to a class project. And we have so many creative and talented students that are just dying to work on things. So I don't have numbers of my conversations, but I will say that there have been no engineers or technology students that I've talked to that have expressed any sort of negative feedback, as in, we don't need this, we don't want this. I have the officers of the electrical engineering organization are behind this. All of my members from the mechanical engineering organization are behind this. The Society of Manufacturing Engineers, as well as ATME, are behind this. And again, nobody that can find something, some way that sees that this is relevant, has given me any sort of feedback, and this isn't really all that useful.
I feel like this is probably going to be speaking for myself, but I feel like a lot of others may feel this too, but I feel like this is a project that's going to take a lot more than I think just maybe finishing this up before the SGA meeting began. And so personally, I feel like maybe you did a survey, created a survey, and then came back. So table of discussion after you finished with the survey and got feedback, because I think after this is maybe something that needs to go and talk with Dr. Tidwell, just because of how much money we think they're facing. And like, I don't think as senators, like we said, we can give you as much feedback as you want. But if you want to do something like this, I feel like this needs to be a planned out situation that you can come back into SGA and have this whole presentation with all of your costs on a piece of paper, with all of your surveys and responses on a piece of paper, all these type of feedbacks and everything you've done to complete this project. And then we can say, yeah, now you got it all down, this is a great idea, and then pivot Dr. Tidwell. But after that, I feel like there's only so much we can do as senators.
More knowledge?
So like with whole 3D printing concept, someone wanted to bring this a flashlight. It's not as easy as walking up to the saying, I want a flashlight. That was the case. You have to learn, if I'm correct, how to use AutoCAD, which also, if I'm correct, takes practice to really master. So that kind of brings me back to how is this applicable to anything not in a field that requires them to learn to use AutoCAD.
I've been using 3D printers for years, and all the things that I 3D print, I'd say maybe 5% are things that I actually spend time designing myself, simply because there is a huge online repository of libraries and libraries of files of things that people have created from around the world and shared online, and just about anything you can imagine. If you're like, well, I really need a part for this, my dishwasher knob broke, you probably go online, find someone whose dishwasher knob broke, designed it, put it on the internet for you to use, download it, and then you print it out. And when you have a very, very low level 3D printer, it is a bit finicky to use. But when you have one that's at about a mid-grade level, mine costs $1,000, and it's basically plug and play. And at that point, anyone can walk in, say, I saw this thing online, I like it, here's a 3D file, and they can plug it in, send it over to the printer, and get it going. There's very little training required until they want to get to the operational point. They want to start, sitting in there and thinking of themselves and watching it go. But otherwise, it's a very easy system nowadays. You don't have to spend modeling your own design. It's just
so you said Tyler's getting and you said the innovation pipeline, they're going to be having 3D printers. What would keep UT Tyler students from using that? Because that would save us money and time and resources and students' time if you can just go off campus. Yeah, it's not conveniently on campus, but you could just go wherever that pipeline is and just do whatever you want.
I would just say that there's a lot of things in Tyler, and there's a lot of things on campus, but especially in Tyler, that we know nothing about as UT Tyler students on the whole. And yes, if there is, we say we could save money through this by not doing it, but at the same time, I don't believe that what I haven't seen any of is understanding or knowledge that there is a there is a facility opening up in Tyler that's allowing these capabilities. So how am I, this is not something to be, opposing or to take away anything from or to try to replace the innovation pipeline, but rather to say, if we have 1 or 2 machines here, then at least students have the ability to come in and be on campus and do it. And then if they want to do more or more people want to do more, and really it just becomes overcrowded or something, there is more on campus. We don't necessarily need to grow and grow and grow this should it be popular. There is another place that they can go on to. So I see it as a way to connect what's happening in the Tyler community to what's happening here in Tyler.
Is this only going to benefit?
I don't believe so. Entrepreneurs can come from anywhere. Innovation can come from anywhere. If you have an idea, that doesn't mean that you're an engineer. It doesn't mean you're studying engineering. You can be a biology student that wants to, say, make a representational cell, or a kinesiology student and represent something that's physiological. It's incredibly versatile technology. So definitely not limited to engineers.
Okay, so I actually did, as he said, 3 times. My high school had a free 3D printer and other stuff to do. And as people keep asking, I mean, primarily that's the focus. Obviously, they will be the ones mostly designing and making things, but other people keep, like when I was in high school, kind of dumb, but my Xbox 360 controller, the little battery pack broke. I think Microsoft wanted like $20 for a replacement battery pack. And my friend told me you can get like the CAD file for it. That one, the engineering teacher made it. I had it like for free. So I mean, there's just little random things like that, but you can also make that's really cool. And I think a lot of people are also confused about the scope of this, and I think you can help clear this up. Because if you're talking about getting a 3D printer and a laser cutter, your costs are not going to be $50,000, or they'd be very cheap, probably less than $5,000, $10,000 in that range, and it wouldn't require a gigantic brain STEM building. Probably do it in half the size of this. But if you could just elaborate kind of on what I said, clarify that aspect.
I could see something like this, say, right there in the main area of the library. These, a 3D printer and a laser cutter, it doesn't take up a lot of room. You could have both of them sitting on one half of this table right here, and it's not dangerous unless you have your hand inside of moving equipment, but otherwise it's just like a printer. Send it off to the machine and it creates it for you. So we already have machines that do basically what I'm talking about here, except they use ink, not plastic, or they use a laser. And it's not a giant step up to say that our students would be incredibly limited if we didn't have any two-dimensional printers on campus. Just think of the next level of possibility that opens up when you say, now we can take that and we can cut out things from wood, we can engrave anything, we can create replacements for our Xbox controllers. I've seen lots of people are already starting to modify their Switch, their Nintendo Switch, because the original design for Nintendo falls short in a lot of aspects. So they just make something that shores up that design. This is something for everybody, and everybody does benefit. And even when you don't see the direct benefit to you immediately, you do find something, some way that you can start getting into this once you start to learn about the technology. Actually, they're available to you like it is in high school.
I know our discussion has been really productive. I feel Senator Hood has good information from us. Now, I would like to make a motion to table the discussion until Senator Hood has feedback from campus, whether that be a survey or whatnot, and has a full plan of action.
All in favor of tabling Senator Hood's project, can we get feedback from the campus, say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose? Any abstentions? Aye. Okay, discussion has been closed. Okay. Do you have any other old business to bring up? No? Okay. New business, we do have one swearing. Omar Mohammed, he came up to me last week. Super interested. He was in the meeting before, and he asked a bunch of questions, and so I think he'd make a great asset to the Senate. But you are more than welcome to give a speech. He is running for student body at large.
Hello, I'm Omar Muhammad, like she just said. I play basketball here at UT Tyler. I'm also a freshman, and I'm really interested in joining student government. I have a lot of things on my head that I'd like to share with you guys. I'm mostly interested in getting involved in my community, and if I'm going to call this place home, then why not make a difference? Other than that, thank you for your time.
Thank you. All in favor of opening a discussion over Omar Mohammed, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, discussion is now open. Vice President Huffman?
We normally have really good results with people who have been in some form of athletics. A lot of our old executive positions, a lot of our current people have been in some form of athletics here. And so I would normally say that their work ethic translates into this body. So I'm interested in seeing what people bring to the table here.
Second. Okay. All in favor of closing discussion and voting over Omar Mohammed and his Senator position, say aye. Aye. All those who oppose? Any abstentions? Okay. All in favor of approving Omar Mohammed and his student body at large center position, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Omar Mohammed is now our new student body at large center. Congratulations, you're the new senator for student body at large. Okay. And everyone could raise their right hand for me, please. Okay, I, your name. Do solemnly swear. That I shall faithfully represent the interests. Of the student body of the University of Texas at Tyler. I shall dutifully uphold and preserve. The Constitution and bylaws. Of the student body. While ardently executing the office of and your office. Of the Student Government Association at the University of Texas at Tyler. So last week during the town hall, it was the shuttle bus. I brought up the shuttle buses. Dr. Patterson was very curious on whether or not, as senators, as students, you guys are interested in still seeing the shuttle buses going around campus. I did mention last week that it is $250,000 a year to accommodate for the shuttle buses, and at the same time, not a lot of students are using them. So with that being said, we've done research on shuttle buses. So according to UNT, they have a fantastic shuttle bus system with times. They have three major stops. It's around 15 to 20 minutes around the entire campus. It's a really, really good system they're having. So I just wanted to gauge to see what you guys thought on your thoughts on the whole shuttle bus aspect of it. So can I entertain a motion to open up discussion over the shuttle buses? Senator McGinn.
Motion to open up discussion.
Second. Okay. All in favor of opening up discussion over the shuttle buses, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Aye. Okay. The discussion is now open. Senator McDaniel.
Personally, I think they're not necessary at all. But because I don't even know how many we have, but I see them go around in Eagles, and I feel like I see the same ones in Eagles circling just Eagles, like every 2 seconds with one person on them. And if they're $250,000 or something a year, I literally don't ever see them. If I do see them, but like I said, I have one person on it. I don't know when they come. I don't know where they go. I don't know the times for them. Our campus is not big enough for shuttle buses, and I think $250,000 a year can go way further.
Vice President Templeman?
This is just me personally. I don't know what y'all do, but most of the time when I walk to class, I walk through the section by the lakes, which is on the inside. We don't have shuttle buses there. So I feel like most of the people walking to class are saying, oh, I never see them. I don't get picked up. They don't run that route. They don't have shuttle buses there. The ones, they can't cross the road. So you see the ones in Eagles, circling Eagles, because they're not allowed to leave any other place. And if you don't live in building 12, it's almost redundant to get on there. Because you're going to have to drive all the way to the back and then make a loop and go back up to the front. So also, the previous treasurer before Rado was named Matthew Markart, and he did a study on them to see how much it would cost if you were to buy a ticket just for them to break even. And I can't remember the exact number, so I'll have to ask him and correct myself. But I want to say it was almost like $40. Just with how many students that they said rode on it, and that may have been, I don't know if that was the old bus that they had that was like an actual bus versus these golf carts, but I remember him talking about this. It was like almost $40 per ticket if we were to just break even.
It's interesting you should bring up that UNT is super successful. I think that's part of my dissatisfaction with the current super shuttles that we have, shuttle buses, whatever you call them. is, I don't know when they're gonna be and where. I see them occasionally because I do have to drive to campus. Sometimes I have very late labs and I feel uncomfortable walking across campus at 10 p.m. Not sure I'm the only one on that one, but whatever. So is there, Joshua might know, is there a schedule of some kind that's up somewhere that maybe we just don't know about, or is it really all as random as it looks?
That's bad, that's bad. Know a lot more about the buses. It could be expected.
Okay.
I generally agree with that, but obviously there are exceptions to everything. I have a friend that goes to school at UCD and she had ACL surgery like in middle school year when they would walk class. And so those like shuttles that they have there was really like a really good thing for her. But that being said, I don't know if there are any students here that like really have that. There are other like avenues like explore to make sure that like the security guards drive around in golf carts and then if there's like a student that just needs a ride somewhere, then we can figure out a way that the security guards can get over there, or the police officers can get over there and give them a ride on their golf cart. I don't know if we necessarily need to be spending $250,000 for a few students that are using them. And like you said, campus is really big enough, especially for the route that they go on. That they don't even go like inside where all the students are walking. It just kind of seems like there's flushing money down the toilet there.
And they're about
Just on a side note, another use for the shuttle buses, our college does ongoing interview to be accepted into the college. So we utilize the shuttle buses on the weekends when we give tours of the campus and all of that. I think it could be improved. We could improve the use of them if we had a mandated schedule. I think that would be very
Point of
beneficial
information
because
there.
if it's random, I don't.
I know admissions has a separate golf cart that they use for tours. So if y'all,
But we use a big old bus because
Okay.
we can take family and friends while their students are.
Senator McCall?
Well, I remember one time last semester, I was trying to get to class. It was like 7:30 in the morning, and it was raining really bad. And I saw the bus thing go by, and they weren't helping like the students get on. And they would go by me, and it was like flooding outside. And so, and I kept on walking, and it was raining and stuff. So I think it could improve if we had like places they could stop at that were like covered, possibly people help in the rain, and also like a schedule so people know when it's gonna happen and where it's gonna be, and yeah, that's a lot of money at least on that. Like we need to move that.
Thank you, Senator Copeland.
Everyone keeps talking about the money that we're spending on the shuttle buses, and does the university actually own shuttle buses already? Because if they do, I'm kind of curious as to where this incurring expenditures coming from.
No, we don't own the shuttle buses. It's a yearly payment. Senator McCann?
Being as like Utah is a huge commuter school too, I feel like this is something that isn't necessary. And with like college pharmacy, you say a tourist something, maybe this is something we can do where they can like order them or like in advance say, hey, we're going to give you shuttle buses and that's where they only use them. But truly, I just feel like this money could go somewhere else. But if we are going to spend that much money on something, then yeah, step plans can be available. But other than that, I just don't know why it's doing this. Until like maybe the next 5 years in our schools, like enrollment's now twice what we have. Cool, yeah, it's necessary. But right now, like we can build the school with that money instead of using buses that let people out never and pick people up when it's don't pick people up when it's raining. Like clothes walking. That's really great. Like, I drive my car and versus ticket when it's raining. So like I'm not gonna get this bus.
I agree with what Vice President Henry was saying about how a lot of us that live in Omaha, we go by the lake and there's a bunch of people that walk by the lake all the time and there's not a bus that goes by there. So even if like, I know a lot of people are saying they don't think that it's necessary, we could always try to move some of the buses into that area so that it might be utilized more for people that are moving from Omaha.
point of information, you can't because it's not a road. Or like the way that it is, because I used to work for the UC, and so we're certified to drive the golf carts, but across the path in between the actual lakes is it's technically a bridge. So you're not allowed to drive, or you're not supposed to at least. So I'm not even allowed to drive a golf cart across it, let alone a bus.
I feel like we all agree that the route and the money and the use of it is kind of yes and no. So I would like to motion discussion on the shuttle bus.
Okay. All in favor of ending discussion over the shuttle buses, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, discussion is now closed on the shuttle buses. And it's Parliamentary Sealy.
Motion to present edits to bylaws.
Okay, all in favor of opening discussion over, or I'm sorry, all in favor of parliamentary presenting the edited bylaws, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Aye. Okay, discussion's not open.
It's not discussion. Sorry, it's all good? All right. Can you get that up here, please? Thanks. I need to show my edits. How do I? Yeah, show markup by. Show markup.
Senator Copeland?
Is this in relation to the presentation she showed us before?
No, okay, so to preface, I presented the Constitution before, and that has to be tabled for 30 days according to the rules before it can be discussed and voted on. The bylaws are a separate entity and must be tabled for 7 days before being discussed and voted on. So I'm presenting them today so that next week we can have discussion and voting over both all at once for clarity and convenience and respect for everyone's time. So I'm gonna try and go through these, and like last time, there can be no discussion. I can only take questions over the interpretation and clarity of the document itself, not the concepts within the edits. Does everything make sense? Okay, I'm gonna get started then. So the first edit we made is to make the revision year correct. Here, it originally read that by a 3/4 vote of the General Assembly, the decision of the Executive Board to deny or creation, etc. It now reads by 2/3 vote of the General Assembly. Here in this subsection, it originally read by 3/4 vote of the General Assembly, the decision of the Executive Board, etc. It now reads by 2/3 vote of the General Assembly, the decision of the Executive Board, etc. In this, I'm very sorry. In the third section of Article 1, we deleted the portion over dress attire in the title as well as in each of the subsections. That is no longer there. It did read about what will be worn as during GA meetings and during events. So now this is subsection only over the composition, and it's about how many officers and committees and senators are within the SGA. We added a new section of this article, section 4, that is specifically for dress code. And all of this is brand new, so I'll read it verbatim for you. Subsection A, senators shall wear to SGA meetings the SGA issued t-shirt and full-length denim jeans or dress pants. Jeans may not be distressed, which means no holes or rips. The executive, subsection B, the executive board shall wear to meetings the SGA issued polos and full-length jeans or dress pants. Jeans may not be distressed, no holes or rips. Subsection C, for every 3 dress code infractions, the senator will be charged with 1 unexcused absence. Subsection D, extenuating circumstances approved by the executive board may warrant a senator to be out of dress code without penalty. Subsection E, the appropriate dress for all other SGA-sponsored events will be announced by the executive board as necessary. Yes. Can I ask a question? Yeah, if it's over this section specifically, go for it. So we don't have to come back.
For A, for General Assembly?
Yes. Interesting question. I would interpret it as all meetings from, as like SGA meetings. So I assume General Assembly, as far as that was the intended interpretation, is for General Assembly meetings. So subsequently, all of these section numbers were changed
in order to accommodate a new section. In section 5, subsection D, it originally read the SGAC shall make recommendations concerning the preparation of the SGA budget. It now reads, for clarity, the Student Government Appropriations Committee shall make recommendations concerning the preparation of the SGA budget. In Article 2, Section 1, subsection B, sorry, that changed because we added a new subsection, subsection C, in which a statement was added that reads, a full Senate will consist of 5 executive board members and 47 senators. To be clear on how many senators is, how many senators a full Senate is composed of. Yes.
Why is it a total of 47?
Because in section B, which was already existing, it lists what the senators will be made up of, 3 from each college, 2 from each unofficial housing complex, but there was no final statement of how many senators that is. It only explains where the senators come from. So we added a statement explaining how many senators composes a full Senate. Does that make sense? Okay. So we continue through this section. Added section E to, subsection E to the section that, to the 3rd section of this article, that is the requirements for candidates. We added subsection E in between the existing sections of E and what is now F. That states, during the time of elections, all legislative responsibility regarding elections falls to the treasurer, provided the current treasurer is not a candidate in the election. If such a situation should occur, the treasurer may defer this duty to any member of the executive board that is not a candidate.
What if every member on the executive board is candidate?
I feel that that's a circumstance that we did discuss that in our meeting. That's a circumstance that would have to be handled by the advisor and the I'm saying you would have to, there's no way to ensure that there will be someone in a leadership position within the SGA that could handle such a thing. And so if that were to occur, such a matter would be sent to the judicial board and possibly the advisor at that time to be sure that there's no conflict for anything. We good? Okay. We continue through this article. Oh my. Okay, in this section 7, voting stations and ballots, the last subsection E was deleted. It did read official election results. Election results shall be posted in SGA designated areas by 12 p.m. noon on the day following the final voting day unless a complaint is filed. We opted to delete that section entirely. All these blue things are the result of us deleting or changing a section number. These are just automatic changes that are made so that the document is clear and the numbers are proper. These are not necessarily edits that were made. Just in section 11, we actually deleted section, we edited the section 13 to make it just a subsection of section 11, and so that it would be clear. That didn't change anything content-wise. That was more about formatting. And we're now into Article 3, which is Student Government Appropriations Committee. In between Articles 3 and the previous Article 4, we added a new Article 4. So now there's Article 4, and the previous Article 4 is now labeled Article 5. This article is specific to senator projects, and it did not exist before, so I'll read it verbatim for you. Subsection A, senator projects will be the responsibility of the treasurer in the way of assisting senators create and execute a project. Subsection B, senator projects will be a standing line in the SGA budget.
Subsection 1, the budget amount will be determined by the SGA treasurer. Section C, senator projects that meet the following criteria will be given priority consideration. Subsection 1, the proposed project must benefit the university as a whole. Subsection 2, the proposed project must benefit the student leading the project. Subsection 3, the project's desired result must pose a permanent or long-term effect on the university. Section D, exceptional projects that do not meet the Article 3, Section B, Subsection 3 criteria may also be considered by the General Assembly at the discretion of the treasurer.
Section 8.
Yes, I apologize.
It just says long-term effect. What qualifies as a long-term?
I believe that is an interpretation. I would think in that question.
I'm sorry, what?
She asked, what does long-term mean? Is that an interpretation of content or interpretation of writing?
I guess I meant in that context. What did you mean in that context?
The intended interpretation is that any project may not be a one-time use project. And then, yes, Senator.
At the very top, supposed to be treasure or treasure?
I'm very, yes. I could not see what you're talking about. Yes, Vice President Sal.
It says the budget amount will be determined by the SGA treasurer.
Yes.
I don't know if there's more content or quality of writing, but I don't know if they have the authority to do so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Radha. The treasurer submits the budget each year, and so I believe that as necessary, you could change the line item amount.
Right.
And so
that's what you're talking about.
yes,
here.
that amount will be determined by the treasurer when they submit the budget each year. Okay, Section E, senator projects will be approved by a simple majority vote by the General Assembly based on the proposing senator's presentation that outlines the purpose of the project, the budget for the project, and the desired outcome for the project. This is a big section, so are there any questions before I move on? All right, cool. So now, this article here, and the last article, the succession of officers, did not change either. So that's the end of the edits. Are there any questions over the writing specifically? Yes, Senator Roberts. Yes.
So we're going to discuss and vote or just discuss?
Next week, discuss and vote. I'll have, I think how we did it last year was having a survey that you can do on your phone, and that way we can all vote, easily all at once.
So say next week we discuss it and we recommend some changes. Do we have to table it again for a week?
Yes. Yes. While that is possible for the bylaws, I do caution the recommendation of further edits to the Constitution, as that does need to be tabled for 30 days after they are presented. So if recommendations are made in that respect, they'll have to be re-presented, wait another 30 days, and then there won't be no voting before the term is up. And that is a very possible outcome for the bylaws if it's suggested edits, wait a week to present, wait another week to vote, discussion again. So I do caution you with that, but that is a thing that could happen.
So is that all you do, suggest it's not like an amendment process?
These are amendments, but currently, they're edits, they're proposed amendments at the moment. Once they're voted on, they'll be amendments and they'll become official changes in the document. These are just proposed changes and amendments. This is what Rules Committee worked on all last semester and earlier this semester, going through and reading every sentence, every line, and deciding, is this something that needs to change based on the current state of what we do or the way the university policies have changed, et cetera.
Any other questions pertaining to the bylaws? I'm sorry, parliamentary seat.
Motion to table bylaw discussion for a period of 7 days.
Okay, all in favor of tabling the bylaws for 7 days, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, bylaws have been tabled until next week. All right, do we have any other new business? Okay, advisor comments? Any announcements? All right, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Senator Higgins? Motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Secretary Martin, if you can dispense second roll call, please.
President Srinivasan. Here. Vice President Tippleman.
Here.
Treasurer Navarro. Here. Parliamentary Seeley. Here. Senator Balaji. Here. Senator Baker. Bell. Senator Cantu.
Here.
Senator Castellano. Here. Senator Catherwood. Here. Senator Copeland.
Here.
Senator Dyson.
Here.
Senator Grimm.
Here.
Senator Hart. Here. Senator Higgins. Here. Senator Jacobs. Here. Senator Hood.
Here.
Senator Duat. Here. Senator Job. Here. Senator Johnson. Here. Senator McDaniel. Here. Senator McLeod. Here. Senator Mohammed. Here. Senator Morris.
Here.
Senator Morrison. Senator Mosley. Senator Nunez. Senator Brady. Senator Nagarajan. Here. Senator Novak. Senator Parrish. Senator Patel. Senator Rodriguez. Senator Rogers.
Here.
Senator Ross. Senator Severin.
Here.
Senator Shaka. Senator Strozan. Senator Sweetland.
Here.
And Senator Thomas.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Great, meeting.
You're about to die of starvation.
I'm not so hard.